This evening I'm doing a little bit of coffee table splits training, and I wanted to make a couple of videos, quick videos. The first one is going to be a response to the Philosia question of the day, which is name someone, or who is someone that I've known who has inspired me, and talk a little bit about that inspiration. So I'm going to try to be pretty quick about this, but I've been inspired by a lot of people in my life, and I think, to get a sense of where I'm at as a person today, I think I should talk about the most recent person who has inspired me, and that's a fellow named Reg Irnst. And Reg is a guy that I met a few years ago, and that I trained with over this past summer to take over a voluntary duty that he's been doing for well over a decade. Now Reg is a retiree. He's an old guy, and what it is about Reg that inspires me is that he almost, I would say single-handedly saved the population of rattlesnakes from being destroyed as the city of Lethbridge, where I live, grew. And he on occasion had a little bit of help from some other volunteers, but for the most part it was just him, and he took it upon himself. He knew that as the city expanded, as the suburban aspects of the city expanded, that the rattlesnakes would be in big jeopardy, and that at present there wasn't any organization to deal with the rattlesnakes. If people found a rattlesnake in their backyard, in a garage, or whatever, the usual thing that happens is that people would kill the snake. And in Western culture especially, snakes are vilified, demonized, presented as evil, and people fear them. And so, especially poisonous ones. So typically when people encounter a snake, they kind of go a little crazy and they'll kill it. And Reg took it upon himself to set up a program here so that, for one thing, people would become better informed about and educated about the snakes. And so he basically went door to door and taught the citizens of this city, who were almost 100,000, taught them about the rattlesnakes that we live with. And so some of that fear was reduced through his education campaign, his real grassroots public education. He also worked very closely with the city to develop a plan so that rattlesnakes that were being threatened by development could be relocated, so that development projects would consider the safety of rattlesnakes and rattlesnake habitats before they develop, and so that there would be a system for dealing with rattlesnakes in the city that that people were encountering, like in their backyards, in their garages, or maybe a snake is laying on the road or whatever. And so he volunteered himself to be the guy that, whenever a snake is encountered by a person who wants the snake removed, either for the snake's safety or their own safety, then Reg would be the guy that run out there and catch the snake and bring it to a place nearby, to the nearest wild area where the snake could be left in peace without humans bothering you. And so this is what inspires me about him, is that he took it upon himself to do all of this. It's not a job. Nobody was offering to pay him to do this. There wasn't, there was no kind of compulsion to do it, other than his own self-motivated, that he saw a problem in the environment that he's living at, and he wanted to take responsibility for that problem. And I highly respect that. Not a lot of people will do that, and I'm kind of like that myself, and so I respect that, and it inspires me. Also, I found out while I was training with Reg this summer to take over he had to move north, about 6 hours north of here, to be closer to his wife's family, because his wife's brother got terminally ill. And this is why he transferred the duty to me. I had asked him to become involved with it a couple of years back, and he remembered me, and when he had to leave, he gave me a call and he transferred the duty to me. While I was training with Reg, another thing that really impressed me was that he knew more about plants, the local plants here. Well, he knew more of them than I did. And he might not have known the medicinal properties of a lot of them as I do. But, like for instance, I'm not very good with grass. There's many species of grass on the prairie, and I really only recognize about a handful, whereas Reg knows them all. And so this is not something that you acquire by going to school, this kind of ecological knowledge. If you go and you train in biology or ecology, you learn a whole bunch of stuff that has nothing to do necessarily with becoming more familiar with your local ecology. And so where this comes from is one's, again, taking upon themselves as autodidacts or self-taught people to pursue knowledge that they feel is important. So again, it's not a school. You're not going to get any degree out of it. There's no rank, there's no belt, there's no awards. It's just for the joy of gaining knowledge and the feel and the sense, fulfillment that knowledge that people should know is known by some very few people that actually care about our environment. So for all of these reasons, Reg Irnst is a man who's recently been an inspiration to me. And like I said, I've had very many. Certainly Sifu Freddie Lee is incredibly inspirational to me. He does things with his body that are very graceful and difficult to do. So that'll be my response to today's Philosophia.